to the Burgershack. I am 8Man. With me today we have the infamous Burger.
What's up, guys?
And our lore champion, Zubaz.
Let's go. Early morning.
Yeah, early morning recording, Saturday morning.
That's what we do for everybody that listens to Burgershack. We love you guys.
And I just recorded a patron-only episode that I'm going to get out. Well, by the time you listen to this, it will have already been out. So if you're still a patron, the handful of you left, we never give anything special, but we appreciate the support for those of you still there. And with that, let's get into it. Why don't we start with the free tune, Dawnstar. She looks really cool. Zubaz, why don't you give us a little bit of her story?
Yeah, Dawnstar she's an interesting character because I think she's got a great backstory. They developed a really interesting lore for her, but they've just never done a ton with her in the comics. She's an ancestral Pueblo, Native American Indian, who at some point in history gets abducted to another alien planet and they just colonize it there. The aliens mess with their genes, so now all of them kind of can fly, have wings, stuff like that. And so she's got this really unique power. I will say that it's unique. I won't say that it's particularly the most helpful, but it's one of those ones where it just comes up. She's basically like a human GPS. She's a tracker. She can track down sort of any sort of life form anywhere. And so obviously, if you've got a major, emergency, she's never going to be the first one you go to, right? You're going to be like, hey, can Superman come and save everybody? And it's great. And then you're like, well, how do we find this person? Oh, well, why don't we bring in Dawnstar? So she's really interesting, really cool, has always been drawn really well. I would say the best story for her is honestly just Crisis of Infinite Earths. She's got a pretty prominent role in the first part of that legendary series. But overall, my just confusion is the big deal that we have here is that they've finally introduced somebody from the Legion of Superheroes into the game. We've always had Supergirl. She's kind of a side Legion of Superheroes member. It was never really main core. And then we're great, we've got Legion members. And then they go with Dawnstar, who is certainly a member of the team in its second incarnation and everything. But to me, it's you're hey, we got Doom Patrol, yeah, and then they're but we're giving you Lodestone, or hey, it's the JSA, except you're getting Citizen Steel. They basically took an iconic group that a lot of people in the community have been asking for, and then introduced their fifth most known member. So it's just a very interesting choice. If I had to guess, I think it's just because of the art associated with it. They basically were okay, we could draw a really fascinating looking character here. We also don't have any sort of Native American representation in the game, so let's kind of expand our diversity that way. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody when we were getting Legion was expecting, Saturn Girl, Cosmic, Karate Kid even. I don't know. Just not Dawnstar.
Yeah, it does seem like an odd choice for January, because usually January you get a marquee character.
Right.
But maybe they're...
The only thing, so for January we always get these speedsters, at least for the last couple years. That's January is when we've had Black Flash, Impulse, Wally West, that sort of thing. And Dawnstar is really fast. She's not a DC speedster in that sort of realm, but she can fly light years at a time, such that, hey, I guess it's sort of there.
On a completely unrelated side note, I met a really cute bartender that is a spitting image of her the other day.
There you go.
And she's
So why isn't she on the show today?
Yeah.
Why are we not?
Hey, we're gonna need you to put some wings on real quick, and it's totally normal.
Yeah.
Totally normal.
I got people that can help with the wings. We're right in the start of Mardi Gras season here, so everybody's costuming like crazy. I could definitely help her out with wings if we need.
Yeah,
See, there we go.
that's what I plan to use when I start the whole dating thing again. Is my pickup line. I host a moderately popular podcast for a video game that is in its twilight years. That always drives the women.
Hey, but you also got Marvel Snap going on too, though.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that's that popular on our. Well, the game is obviously, but not the podcast yet. But we're working on it.
Yeah.
But anyway, in the game, Burger Zubas, have you geared her yet and played with her?
I have, yeah.
Okay, I have not, so I'm going to be relying on the both of you. Burger, why don't you give us your initial thoughts as just gameplay wise?
So a little broken. Right now. For everybody that's probably seen by now, kind of takes you back to a little bit of Q. Not as bad as Q, because Q was just helping you nuke everybody, didn't matter affinity. But now, whenever you start off with her 2, basically, if you have any type of affinity advantage, it's one hit kill. And so, yeah, so it's a little broken on that. But some of the other things, I think, her true sight isn't popping up on her 2 either, so it's kind of the trade-off. We're sorry if you get to kill one-hit kill for affinity advantage tunes. So basically anybody can take out Cyborg Superman one-shot kill, which is pretty nice. But if you have that, then sorry, you don't get your true sight. So it's a little bit of a trade-off there, and it's kind of, which one's better? I don't know. You say tomato, I say tomato, right? But you have that, but outside of that, like her kit seems to be working well. Like, her 1, adding the hit chance downs is nice. And so, yeah, she's her retaliation, and then adding the hit chance downs on them is nice. And but yeah, so if they fix her too, I still think she'll be a strong tune. But right now, she's pretty damn sick.
So for those of you out there trying to wonder what that means, is the affinity power-ups are doing the same thing that Q's ability did, where they give, instead of it acting like normal, it's acting...
The crit chance.
Yeah, it's acting...
Yeah, the crit chance ups from her.
Yeah, so it's acting 10 times the amount. So it's basically the equivalent of putting 20 affinity power-ups. So they're just destroying everything, which, because you're doing it to allies in raids, she's probably going to be absurd, assuming they don't fix it by then, which... Judging by the rate they're fixing bugs, even during a month where we had 1 less rework and they still only fixed like 1 bug, I would assume that she's probably not going to be fixed anytime real soon. So raids will be fast, raids will be expensive.
Yeah, the one thing she's got, aside from the affinity bug, which is it is in my eyes the first time that affinity ups have like mattered in this game.
Oh, for sure.
She does have kind of a dove effect because she's got that trade-off on her basic where she's gaining those evasion ups like crazy while retaliating. It's one of those situations like Dove where if they don't have a can't miss, you've won the match. I have seen her, like Hawkeye sent me a clip of her 1v4ing an enemy team just because there's nothing they can do. They will never hit Dawnstar because she's gaining those evasion ups, but it will just take you a while to wear them down. But yeah, same thing as Dove. Her kit actually is similar to what I believe Dove's should have been, because I always thought Dove should have been Mystic. But it's cool to have a really good blue evasion tune, which is nice.
I've never really liked Evasion, but she does seem like a very good character, cool character. I think she'll fit into... I can see Biff and Kitty really liking her, just because I think she'll fit into their teams really well.
And the art is great on her as well, both basic and legendary. I thought they did a great job.
So she will make the cutie tier list as well of kitties.
Probably.
So, let's talk legendary order. I'm guessing 5 would be first. Do you guys agree with that? Where she starts the battle with 6 speed ups and applies silence to a random enemy?
I do. Yeah.
because that lets
I
her
think
go.
that makes sense.
That makes her. She goes first before everybody, correct?
She does.
She does, and we're still kind of ironing that out. We don't know what the game really wants to do about that. We're not sure if, like, if Cheshire and Dawnstar should come back to Earth, or if Cyborg should be bumped up into the stratosphere with them, because there seems to be a little bit of a difference in terms of how speed ups are handled turn zero. But yeah, that apparently is the new arms race: is who can have the most speed ups before you begin battle.
I still have of the mind that the speedsters should be first,
Yeah.
but
For sure. Yeah.
then there's also the caveat. A lot of times you don't want to start first.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's
I mean, for her, that's the thing for Dawnstar. Like, she starts first, and it's like, what do you do with it, right? The best she's gonna do is probably her 2 skill, which currently isn't working exactly right. So it's like, why is she that fast? I don't really see too much of a benefit of it, but I guess if she gets fixed, we'll see.
well, for her it's not too bad because she has a buff move. But
Right.
it's, if you have to attack, that often is bad. Before
Yeah,
you
same
can-
for Cheshire. Cheshire's
Yeah.
got a buff skill as well that she can burn that on.
Yeah, that's true. So for both of them, it's great. But I thought her 4 would be next. Her 4 is if an enemy misses an attack against Dawnstar, 75% chance for a random ally to retaliate. That seemed pretty good, but do you guys have something different you think?
I kind of did her 2 to purge the invisibilities, but I mean, yeah, I mean 4 is good too. I mean, I guess
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I had the
Yeah, I mean it does to 20% tear damage on her too, so that's pretty good. And you're always going to open
Yeah.
with that. But it's only if they have invisibility. So
Right. Yeah, I think the 4 or even the 1 that I kind of like a little bit better. Especially like the 1 is really what helps you start that like snowball effect where you're applying hit chance downs while gaining evasion ups. That helps it basically just double it. So I like the 4 and the 1 necessarily. Only because on the 2, like there's like you just said, hate mail, like it's only if they have invisibility, and the only time we're really seeing that lately is like Nightwing.
Yeah.
Those kind of teams.
yeah, I kind of thought L3 was her sweet spot because when you have all of her kit, because you're going to open with the 2 and then her 1 suddenly becomes pretty good,
Right.
assuming they don't have Terra or somebody. Which you don't see as much Terra anymore now that everybody ignores everything. So, so, and then just her 3, I guess we would leave last, just because that's overheal's pretty negligible. Is that correct, or is it decent?
it's a decent overkill.
Yeah, it's a good overheal.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what they mean by 120%, but it's better than most of the overheals we've seen recently. Like it's certainly better than Stitch, which is not an overheal at all anymore, we've learned. It's better than like an Enchantress overheal, a Lex overheal. So it's just on her. That's the only thing.
Okay, so her 3
Self-
or her 2 is
self-
kind of dealer's choice for the last 2. I would probably go 2 personally, but I could see a case for either one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went 3 last.
All right.
Overkill.
So, not a bad character. Pretty good for the freebie. Let's talk Mr. Terrific. And he's one I remember from the Arrow show more than anything. Zubaz.
Yeah, certainly got a lot of popularity through that. We've got the Michael Holt version, which is the one that kind of most people are familiar with by this point. He's a second generation, not by relation, but there was an original Mr. Terrific in the old JSA comics. Mr. Terrific's kind of in this strange spot where, like, the people that love him love the character. But for some reason has never quite gained the traction of most superheroes. Like when the New 52 came out, they gave Mr. Terrific his own series, and it was good. It got canceled almost immediately for lack of sales. if you're unaware, so Mr. Terrific's deal, and maybe that's why people aren't always totally drawn to him, is he's just sort of good at everything, but without having a super power. So like Superman is great at everything, and you sort of like people are drawn to him because he's this timeless character, and also he's so overpowered that it's like sure, his superpower is really that he doesn't abuse his powers, right? Mr. Terrific is just a regular dude. He's just also like a super genius and an Olympic level athlete and like all these things such that he's not easy to connect with. But he's considered the third smartest man in the DC universe. At least that's what he goes by. He's got a really cool trajectory where he does really well on teams. So especially like the JSA, and then my favorite is when he's in Checkmate, which is a really cool organization. But yeah, so Michael Holt, they gave us a really good version of it. He has been more successful in the last couple years. They gave him his another team called the Terrifics that has like Plastic Man and Metamorpho and his wife, some other really cool characters. So yeah, he's to me he reminds me a lot of if Lex Luthor was a superhero instead. And that's kind of like the angle that they go with him. In game, he looks great. He looks on point. They've got his T-spheres in the game, not known as anything other else. I refuse to acknowledge anything else that DCL did with the T-spheres. But I know that there's a lot of people that are happy he's here, and for recommended reading, I think his best stories are in Checkmate Volume 2, so the one that Greg Rucka was writing in like 2006, 2007. Those are really fun stories.
All right, thanks, Zubaz. And Burger, gameplay-wise, what do you think about him?
I mean, I think Zubaz kind of hit it on the head. Like his kid's trying to do like everything. I mean, like he really has like a lot of parts to him. He's adding intelligence ups, strength ups. Has some hit chance downs. Transferring, taking buffs from people, potentially giving buffs to his team. So like he does so many little things. I think it's hard for him to be like really strong in game. I mean, like some of the stuff, like I like the turn meter down that he can give on his one. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard, and he's so squishy. Like if anybody gets a hold of him, it's like game over. And so, which kind of stinks because some of his kit's tied to being 100% HP, and so yeah, it's kind of hard to find a good way to use him right now.
Yeah,
he does have some unique things about him, which were fascinating to see when they were releasing him. One of the biggest ones, if you're unfamiliar, it's kind of helpful to learn a little bit about the gear that all of the toons have. So like when you're upgrading gear in game, that obviously increases all of your powers, your stats, all that kind of stuff. And if you're unfamiliar with this, there are like distinct categories of the gear. And the community has kind of named them. The AIM has never come out and said, like, yes, there are 8 specific categories. But we've got ones that are tanks, either physical or special damage. We've got ones that are strikers, physical or special damage. We've got ones that are support, physical or special damage, etc. And so Mr. Terrific has the gear set that is kind of known as special support. And the interesting thing about that gear set is that it was dead in the wild. As of this year, there were 0 toons, and that's been that way for actually probably about 4 or 5 years. The last toon that had the special support gear set was Superboy John Kent before his rework. The only toons that kind of historically ever had it, Lex SSS before his rework, Joker Clown Prince before his rework, and Superboy. So everybody's just like, okay, well, it's dead. We don't have to worry about it anymore. We don't have to think about it anymore. And here it is. It's back. And if you actually look at the stats of that gear set, it's kind of fascinating. The biggest thing is it has the highest kind of multiplier for both physical and special damage. So to break that down a little more, I know we're getting technical here, but like a special striker, their damage modifier on special damage is 1.21. Their damage modifier on physical damage is 0. They're not going to do any physical damage, but they've got a big increase on special damage. Mr. Terrific, with his special support gear set, has a 1.4 modifier on his physical damage, which is the highest that you can get in the game, other than a physical support tune. And then he's got a 1.15 on special damage as well. And so that's why his kit is built around having both strength ups and int ups, because it's supposed to do both of these things. Got a crit value of 142, which also means that if you can actually get him to crit, maybe other tunes supporting him with crit ups or whatever, they're going to hit really hard. So if you really love Mr. Terrific, the character, and you want to use him, it might help you to learn about those gear sets so that you can exploit that and make him kind of more valuable than he seems on his face.
And don't feel bad if you don't understand gear sets. I still don't. So, but what Zubaz is saying is, if you bring characters that give him crit, or you bring characters that give him piles of strength ups and int ups, it doesn't matter which ones you bring. They're all going to benefit him.
Yeah, he should be good with everybody is the idea.
Which, a lot of times, if you're an all-around kind of character, in some cases that makes you absurd, like a Spectre. But if you do too much, sometimes you do too little. So he's probably going to be a B or C tier character, is my guess, when we rate him, after everybody's had a chance to play him. But he's probably usable, if, like Zubaz says, if you like him. Let's talk Legendary Order, because he's kind of a weird one, and I'm not sure what I would take on this. What do you think is probably the best one here, Burger?
I mean, personally, I like the fact that his 3 is helping to turn down all allies cooldown by 1, but you need the intelligence ups, right? So that means you kind of need his 4 to kind of open that, but then you're hoping that he's getting hit with this 4, right? Because it's
4 is if hit points at 100%
above
shielded.
50.
Yeah, I think you got these backwards. The 4 is if hit points is at 100% and he's shielded, gain 2 intelligence ups and apply 10% turn meter down. That's 2 gates on a legendary.
Well, yeah, so if he's above 50%, gain 5 intelligence ups on the basic part, right?
Yeah.
But then he gets if he's at 100%.
The legendary on the basic was if Terrific has 5 strength ups, 50% extra damage.
Yeah, and that's on the 5. So his 5 does the strength ups.
No, that was
so 4 does intelligence, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I see what you're saying.
And so, but you need intelligence ups for his 3. So that way you can help reduce all allies cooldown by 1. So I don't know. I kind of feel like I'd probably go 4-3. Then I don't know. Maybe you could either do 5-1 or 2 after that.
Yeah, he's got a weird kit.
Yeah, and so it just depends on what you're trying to do. So you kind of have to have either the 4 then the 3, or take the 5 then the 1, depending on what you're wanting him to do, right?
Yeah.
And so because you're wanting him to build those either strength ups or intelligence ups. So this is one that you probably really need to have him L5 in order to get everything out of his kit to play off each other and do everything you need it to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah. He does do mixed damage too. Like his basic does physical damage, but his 3 does special damage. So you kind of want both the strength ups and the int ups.
Yeah, so I'm going to do 4-3 or 5-1, then 2. Need L5 to have full use of kit is what I'm putting on the legendary order.
That
kind of makes sense. He's got a weird kit.
Burger, I obviously have not played with him in game, but I'm familiar with his kit. So I just want to check. So his two, the way it reads, is that a move that is you can select either an ally or an enemy?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was the other cool thing about his kit is that's a completely new mechanic. We've never had that before, and so I'm hoping that we can introduce that a little bit more into future characters that come, where it's like, okay, I can either help my team or hurt their team, just because it adds like a little more strategy and unique flair to the game. I think.
Yeah, and that ability is really neat. And for those of you who haven't seen or read it yet, it's if the target is an enemy, steal up to 5 buffs from it and apply to Mr. Terrific. If the target is a teammate, transfer up to 5 buffs from Mr. Terrific. So it's pretty cool that you can take a teammate or an enemy and transfer buffs to an ally, which is really awesome. And then if the legendary upgrade, the amount stolen and transferred buffs is increased by 3. Is there a reason why you didn't take that first? Just because that seems like a good ability, taking 8 buffs from somebody.
I think 5 is already a lot. Yeah, but
I think the other thing is like by doing that, you are debilitating Mr. Terrific. So
True.
it's kind of like you're choosing like, okay, do I want to make him give up all of his stuff basically, or so it
Yeah, I would
makes
think taking it
sense.
from the enemy is probably more what I would use it for more often, but
Probably stealing.
and so
Is
far
a
I
little
haven't
bigger.
seen it. Yeah, and so far I haven't seen it work weird where it's giving buffs to the enemy and taking from the
that's
ally.
a good sign. That's a good sign.
That's what I'm getting from hate mail though is stealing from others is better than sharing with others.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
mean, I
got
can see where you want to share, like if you're about to do a big AoE on Spectre, so
Right.
it's Mr. Terrific's turn and then Spectre's turn's next, and it's where you could do kind of a big brain play. You got a stack of intellect ups, you put it on Spectre, and then he does an AoE and murders everyone.
Right.
That type of thing could be pretty useful.
Yeah.
For sure.
Better to steal.
Theft is always
life
better.
wisdom. Yeah.
All right, let's talk reworks. Let's get Livewire out of the way. Actually, honestly, I really haven't used her but one time since her rework, just because I'm so used to her being bad. But she hits really hard now in her basic. Her basic's just absurd. Zubaz, if you want to start with her.
Sure.
what are you
I'm
thinking?
not sure if she's bugged, to be honest with you. I don't know what is and what is not a bug at this point anymore. But yeah, her basic hits real hard. I was initially kind of disappointed with the kit only because like the group that helps give feedback, we had put together something that I thought was a little bit better than what they gave us. But once she's now in the game, I think she's really good. I think one of her problems is just that the kit still works against itself a little bit. You want her evading because you want her retaliating and things like that. But then she's got this skill where she gets to retaliate if they hit 2 or more of your allies. Which one, you really don't want your allies getting hit, period. That's kind of like against the idea of the game. But also, 2, if you run her like with other evaders to increase the chances that she will evade. So like, let's say you're running in a whole evasion team with Jesse Quick and Dove and they're not getting hit, and so you're not retaliating. So it does work a little bit against itself. But that being said, she doesn't need an evasion team to really do it. She's been pretty good, and just the damage is so off the charts that I think she's very usable now.
Well, I think the basics working as intended. I mean, 15% damage per intellect up on her is probably a lot of damage. I mean, that's a ton of damage. I mean, she only needs 2 or 3, which is easy to get. She's still
Yeah,
doing it.
it might be. I just because she used to hit so weak, and that now it's like 100 times what it's doing.
Yeah.
And then we're also seeing like Dawnstar and everything. I'm just like, are these being calculated correctly? I'm not gonna do the math. I'm just gonna use her and have fun just bopping people with it. So
I don't see anybody reporting that, so
no,
I don't
no,
see
no,
them
no,
ever fixing it. So it's
no.
safe to say it's probably not going anywhere.
Right.
So if you like Livewire, she's definitely way, way better than she was. Burger, using her in Siege at all?
I'm not using her, but she is pretty rough facing in Siege.
Yeah, she's scary.
Like her multiple hits, I mean, hitting hard, like it's. I mean, I have RB4 Kilowog, and I mean, like she's easily. I mean, she's taken him out a couple times at L5. I mean, obviously he's a little squishy, but yeah, I mean, her multiple hits in a row, like definitely something you have to think about and try to plan for.
I like her one first. Does anybody think something else should be first? Just because I think that because her one's so strong, I want her to hit an additional enemy.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm good
Yeah.
with that.
I mean, the only other one would be maybe her. Well, I don't even know. I mean, I like her 3, but I also don't like her 3. Um, so, her second one is a little tougher to decide. So her 3 is pretty good, but you're purging ints, but you're getting evasion ups. And then I do like her static shock. If static shock is triggered, gain +3 intellect ups. But then
Yeah.
you need the 2 or more allies to get hit. So
Her 5 is currently bugged, the legendary. Right now, when she evades, she's doing her basic in retaliation. She's supposed to be doing, at least the way the kit is written, her 2. So she's supposed to be getting the int ups and the true heal. So I don't know if they're going to fix that either. But if they don't fix that, you're probably going to want to take the 5 pretty early so that she's doing her basic in retaliation.
yeah, I think I would. I mean, there really isn't anything else that's that much better.
Yeah.
So her 5, I think, is good. I would say I can't decide between her 3 and her 4. The 4 is really good if you're facing somebody with an AOE because 3 and ups for 2 turns is pretty significant. But if the 5 remains as it is, the 2 or the 3 is much better because you want to evade at that point.
Right.
But the evasions are 1 to 5 turns, so it's very variable. But I don't know. It's a tough choice on these. So I'm gonna go with the 4, but I think it's kind of a dealer's choice. These last couple, it just depends on what you want to use her for.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's talk about probably the tune of the month, I would say, and that is Cyborg Superman rework. He's pretty ridiculous now. What are your initial thoughts on him, Burger?
He's badass. I mean, I know we had like a debate the other day where like, oh, he's not that sick, but I mean, if he gets a hold of anybody and is able to time it where he uses his 1 then his 3, like, I mean, everybody's going down. He's pretty sick. Like, I mean, he's colorblind. I mean, hitting hard. I mean, he has solutions in his kit for almost anything that kind of annoys you right now in the current meta, like whether or not it's can't miss or purging from himself. I mean, he's really really solid tune.
Zubaz, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I've never geared Cyborg Superman. I don't probably plan to. He combines my least favorite thing, Superman, with my other least favorite thing, cyborgs. So I'm just out on him. But that being said, I've faced him quite a bit. And I've seen him in a lot of like streaming, especially during like Tournament of Legends or M4 stream and things like that. And he looks fantastic. The Annihilation Protocol is the hardest hitting move in the game that also purges all the buffs before it. So it is what it says, right? It's Annihilation Protocol. It is an instant delete button.
Yeah, I've had to take out my RB5 Spectre.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic to watch. My thing is, it makes sense, and it's on that high cooldown. You also need to do the thing where like you do his basic first, such that you make it can't miss. So I think it's heavily enough gated that it's not like an overpowered skill. It is a delete button on a high cooldown that you need to do things to set it up. But when you do it, man, oh man, it is amazing to watch. It's got a cool animation too. Like he's just picking up this giant rock, and you know he's about to murder whatever is in front of him. So yeah, I think this was a really, really effective rework.
Yeah, I'm really.
Yeah, there's been a couple times where I was like, shit, he's doing it. Is his shield over 50%? I can't tell.
Right.
It's like right there. Like,
that is something that people have complained
over 50%.
about. Like there's people that have been asking for the shield to have the same colors as like overheal or like the health bar, so that you know if it's over 50% or not. Which I get. They're never gonna do, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a scary move. The first time he took out my Spectre, and I really I knew it was strong, but I wasn't worried. I'm like, RB5 Spectre against a green, I'm good. It's 1-on-1, and then all of a sudden he's not dying. I'm like, what's going on here? I can't stun him. Oh, he just pucked out the boulder. He just killed me. Screw the siege. I'm done.
Yeah, he's got some bugs of his own that we don't think that they're ever going to fix either. It looks like he's gaining a little more turn meter than he should be, but
maybe double the turn
yeah,
meter.
Yeah, or possibly triple. It seems like yeah.
Yeah, and what's weird, and it's I don't understand why on defense he gains so much more turn meter than he does on offense. Does anybody understand why that would be? Because it's not, a percent chance. So
I think your first mistake was trying to understand anything that's happening anymore.
I'm like, why? Okay, the Cyborg Superman, the enemy team, has turn meter for days, and my Cyborg Superman is just standing there like a dumb giant robot.
Mine, it generally just in Siege, it just turns into the two just going back and forth, and that's it.
Mine doesn't.
Like
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know what it is. I don't understand. My Cyborg Superman just doesn't take turns.
Yeah, mine just alternate, and you're just like, shit, please don't hit somebody else. Please just keep hitting Cyborg for now. But yeah, no, mine does well. I mean, I just sit there and volley hits back and forth.
The other thing I don't like about him is that Cheshire's disease still murders him. So the first time I took him, I was like, oh, finally we got a Cheshire. I mean, I wouldn't say finally, it's been 1 month, but we got a Cheshire hard counter. I'm going to wreck. And yeah, it's...
He does handle her really well, though. I mean, like it's if you have to plan for him, if you have Cheshire on your team, because it really only takes a couple hits from him and she's gone. So there's really not a ton of and she's not evading him, right? So it's not like she's retaliating, and so I mean you can go after her real quickly.
Okay, well, I don't believe it, but she's still right. But other than that, pretty solid character, great rework. Mine doesn't seem to live as well as the enemies, but he still does good. I mean, he's so absurd with Alan Scott. Like, Alan Scott makes him just a monster.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
I've faced a few times, and I'm just like, oh, he's nearly unkillable. But so let's talk legendary order on him. This one's really tough because all of his legendaries are really good. I almost think in the current meta, I would almost go with his 1 just because that can't miss is so important. But outside of Cheshire, it's not nearly as good as his 3 or his 4, which I feel like his 4 should be first. What do you guys think?
I think you need them all.
Yeah. I mean, I could see the 4 though. I mean, because getting those extra hits and that tee him up is good. But I mean, the hell, I mean, his 2 is badass. Purge all positive immunities and all awareness.
The only thing that's
you're
clear
right
is
with
that
1.
the 5 should be last. That's the only.
That's kind of
For sure.
Yeah,
I
feel like...
mean, this is a tune you don't like a leader ability. You don't ever like. He doesn't need to be leader. Like, I mean, you just run him without it. I mean, yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I think 4, and then man, it's really, really tough what to take next, because if you're facing Cheshire, you have to have his 1. Everybody else, you probably could get,
But the cool thing about that, his 1 that can't miss, is it's also his next move can't miss.
Yeah.
So if you're timing that with his 3, I mean, hell, or his 2, like you're I mean, if you see it pop up and you're like, shit, I didn't use his 1 last time, uses one round, he's going to get turn meter up after when somebody else, hits them, and then just nuke with his 3. I mean,
Yeah,
it's really is cool.
I think for his legendary, I'm gonna say his 3 second, and then his 2, and then 1. But I'm gonna put in the notes if you're building for Cheshire or anti-evasion, you need his 1 earlier.
Sure.
Because I mean, you don't need it if the meta shifts where there's never any evaders. You don't need his 1 at all. But
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still really good though to have for like a Nightwing team. Like,
yeah,
I mean, gosh, he just handles Nightwing like Nightwing's done for.
Yeah. Yeah, really. I mean, the only thing stopping him right now easily is Dawnstar's feature of 2.
yeah.
Ever 2.
And I mean, granted, I haven't fought a lot of Dawnstar yet, but I'm sure after today, at the time of recording, she's out today, so we're gonna start seeing a lot more of her.
Yeah.
Really solid character. Highly recommend investing in him if you haven't already. And before we sign off, we want to talk a little bit. The Tournament of Legends has started. There's a lot of
Sure.
odd rules that I'm kind of curious about. I didn't really read all the rules this time, but you were talking about multiple rounds and facing different people. Then I saw Trigon was allowed, which really surprised me because he bans weak M4 characters.
Yeah, we definitely made some changes this time around that were in response to the meta right now. So basically, we had a lot of people that were doing their practice rounds because people they get excited about it. It's only every 3 months. They like to gear up for it. And people were just getting shelled by either the Atrocitus, Supergirl, Brainiac teams, or by Cheshire. And so we looked at it and we're basically like, okay, we've got to open up a lot of the prohibited tunes a little bit more, just so that we can make this competitive. Yes, it is fun to see how people are going to adapt and figure out the new meta without all of the top tunes, but it's also not totally fun to watch everybody go 4 and 36.
Well, yeah, I could see where it would basically be luck of the draw. Did you get a couple
exactly
normal teams?
So we were like, okay, let's open it up a little bit more, which we did. As far as going against people, the way that it's set up now is we have enough players that we have a group stage. That's, if you're familiar with the World Cup, that we do it like that, where you get drawn into a group. You do a round robin where you technically play 1-on-1 against each of the other players in your group, and then 2 people advance from each group. So that's why we've set it up like that. They will then advance to the knockout rounds, and it's kind of just a regular brackets from there. So it used to be that everybody was just kind of in a free for all. We decided that this just kind of spiced it up a little bit. It made it more fun. It made for better trash talk, better rivalries, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's happening right now. We do have a whole Discord for it. If you want to be familiar with it, just let us know in either the comments or whatever. We'll get you the.
Do you have a vanity
for
link
Discord.
for the TOL server?
Maybe we can set that up.
I thought you might, but I couldn't remember.
So it's a really fun tournament. If you've never seen it before or anything, the best part is just going to watch other really high caliber players play. You've got M4 in there playing. You've got all your favorites from the DCL community: Josh, DeBoy, even 2D-tron. It's everybody is doing these just fun little streams, and it's a way to pass the time, is to just watch everybody go. So. And shout out to Feldmast, who he's in the Court of Owls still, right? Is that he's still an owl? Yeah, I believe he is. Everybody was like, with the current meta, is anybody going to have a perfect round? And my understanding is that he's got 2 of them so far. So good for him. He's doing great. Everybody knows that Feldmast is one of my best friends in the community, so I just want to shout him out. And come join us, come watch. It's a load of fun, and it goes on for the next probably about 3 weeks.
I thought he's going by Mr. 4 now. I don't even know the backstory behind that, but I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, be sure to check out the Tournament of Legends. A link to the Discord will be in the show notes. Everybody has to stream their matches, so you can check out all the streams. At the finale, they do absolutely ESPN level amazing show. I usually re-air it on WROL YouTube, but it's much more fun to watch live when you don't know the results. Just like watching live sports. Watching a rerun of sports is kind of lame, so be sure to watch it live. And with that, thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Hello, everyone. It's yours truly, the AB. Thanks for listening to the show, and won't you please consider being a Patreon? Let me tell you how easy it is. Head over to patreon.com/WROL broadcast. Be the first one to get the inside scoop with exclusive content and early news. Packages start as low as $1. That's less than a handful of gems. If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat?